You don't masturbate before.
Baba,
Waiting there.
which kind of question will be this one again?
You don't masturbate before.
Guy, this is not how you're supposed to ask a question on a podcast.
Okay,
You're
you get how I
supposed to
suppose
say,
ask 'em.
yeah, have you struggled with masturbation
Have you
before?
struggled with guy? You don't masturbate before. Now the question why they ask you be that: is it a yes or a no?
Yeah.
Welcome back to B's Corner Podcast. It is your guy Biama Joseph, aka B, and with me is Rampy. Rampy,
Yeah.
welcome to B's Corner Podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the conversation on the table is the struggles of a Christian guy. Personal struggles edition, of course. That one where they bite, where you they struggle with. Rampy,
Hi, guy.
you don't masturbate before. How it happen?
I want to tell you how it take
You could
happen.
tell me how it happened now. We're talking about the struggles of a Christian guy. And
Yeah.
you know, Seba, let me tell you something. Many of us church boys,
Yeah.
we look the part in church, you know, we dress well, we pray loud, you know, we always look like we're carrying the Holy Ghost in our pocket. But deep down inside of us, we're dying. There's certain struggles that we face when we go back to our houses. It's like a den that we enter into because we know all of our demons are waiting for us in our rooms. How did your own personal struggles happen?
Bro, your question came to me like a shotgun, you know, to
knew,
my
right?
head, honestly.
I know, right?
Yeah, but you see, the thing about masturbation is the door of masturbation doesn't just open. Something most likely
Something
opens-
triggered it.
Yes. I mean, something else must have opened the door. Well,
How
that's
did you arrive
my
there?
own.
What was your personal
See,
experience?
the problem I had was when I was probably 9 years old.
9?
Remember, yeah, that time when we
Quite
used to have
early.
VHS.
VHS, yeah, those videos.
Yes, and black and white televisions.
white
then.
TV, of
yeah,
course.
I remember that one time walking into a room where, adults were watching a movie.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, it's now that I even, okay, let me say no, it was eventually I knew that it was pornography they were watching.
Yeah.
First I noticed was everybody was quiet. Then I sat down. I was just there to watch.
And you didn't know
Yeah,
what you
I
were
didn't really know what was going on. By the time I grew, I started having, these, what do you call these?
Wet
things?
dreams?
No, not wet dreams. When teenagers they grow now, they start experiencing
Is it
all
puberty?
this puberty.
Puberty, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you started experiencing puberty.
So the moment I began to experience puberty, so what happened was that was when the images that I had seen when I was 9 years old began to replay in my mind. But now it was replaying with a meaning.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. So before you know what happened, it opened the door to
How
pornographic
powerful the
addictions.
mind is.
Mind is that means you can actually trap an image,
Yeah.
and it will be saved
From many
unconsciously.
years
Yes,
ago.
you may not even know what it is, but when you grow up,
Yeah.
and then maybe life experiences or something begins to interpret those same images to you. So, anyways, that's how I began to get addicted now to pornography.
Wow.
And then it was pornography that opened the door to masturbation. So it's
Of
usually
course, it's always like that.
It's always like that. So
You know what's interesting is that you and I seem to have very similar stories. How pornography started for me was walking into a room also. Now, then not every household had a TV set or a VHS set or something like that. So many times we would have to sneak into our neighbors' houses to watch TV with them. Then in Nigeria, it was Indian movies. We were very crazy about Indian movies. Sundays.
Yeah.
So we would, sneak into our neighbors' rooms. Sometimes they would chase us away and sometimes they will let us. Now, this day, I was back from school. I was in secondary school then. I came back from school. My dad, of course, was a banker. Had been a banker all his life. My mom, I think, went to church, women fellowship or something. But I knew that I and my siblings were the only ones at home.
Okay.
And so I heard the sound of the TV, TV in my neighbor's room. So I tried to get in. There was someone at the door who tried to resist me, to hinder me from entering. I kept insisting. Now, because they didn't want me to create a scene, of course,
They allowed
me in. So the guy said, when you come in, you're going to be quiet. And I said, yes. So I crept into the room and sat down. Like you, they were watching something. Now, I knew because I was in secondary school, I was already a teenager. I could identify that a woman was naked and a man was naked and some activities going on. Now, these images began to play back, I think, say a year or 2 years later, right? And how did that begin? In secondary school, some of my friends whose parents were, wealthy enough to buy them phones began to come with what we called Symbian phones that had the ability to browse.
Yeah.
So I would say a group of guys
gathered together,
clustered together and looking at something. Some of them will be giggling and all of that. And my curiosity. So somehow I was able to find my way into, that cluster. And lo and behold, these guys were watching pornography. Now that was the journey for me. Because like you said, images were registered. I was a teenager. My body had begun to respond to sexual desires.
Yeah.
I began to look for means to satisfy because, I can't find a girl. I can't go to a woman.
Or you couldn't.
Of course, I couldn't go to a woman because, a teenager, how would I go to a girl and say, I want to sleep with you? So I had to find a way to satisfy. Right? Now, but this is it. I said something about we Christian guys. And mind you, even for me, that thing traveled with me to my adult years.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I became an adult, but still struggling with pornography and masturbation. Now, we have young guys in church who are, going through these struggles, right? And many of them would never dare to speak. Because like I said, we know to look the part.
Yeah.
Where those guys that are considered, men of God, guys who are on fire for God, look sharp in all of that. But we're struggling with masturbation. Now, talk to me about how long your experience lingered and perhaps how you even began to, find a way around it.
Okay, you see, I may not be able to say particularly, how long it lingered, as it were, but even as at the time that I started having pornographic addiction, I didn't even think it was much of a problem. I thought it's still part of life and exploration of my youth and all of that. And then many of my friends around then, particularly in secondary school, like you were talking about, were doing it. So I think my moral compass then was not judging me or anything. I didn't feel like, but I just knew that it's not something I could do in the presence of my father or elderly people.
That's right.
Yeah, it could be done in hidden, but not necessarily that I felt it was wrong, as it were. Where the real struggle began was when I got born again. When I got born again, I was in SS2.
Okay.
When I got born again, there was this joy in my heart that was amazing, and it was spontaneous for no reason. I was just joyful, joyful. And I realized that what came with the joy is the deadness of the desire for certain things that were filthy.
That's right.
One of the mistakes I made was I thought that thing was
going to be permanent.
Yeah, I thought
it was going to be there forever.
Oh my God. So it was when I found out that the desires were actually there. That was when it became a struggle.
Wow.
Exactly. So because then it was not a struggle because there was nothing within me.
There was nothing within you saying this is wrong.
To counter the experience of watching the pornography and all that. So, but when it became a struggle, that was when it was very difficult for me. Now there was something I did in my 200 level. Till today, I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but it helped me. Do you know, one day I stood up during fellowship. Now I was already a recognized brother then. People knew me to be Pastor Rampi and all that. Exactly. Do you know, I stood in front of the fellowship and I confessed and told them that I've been struggling with the sin of pornography.
How did you even do that?
Bro, I just had to. I was desperate.
You were dying.
I was dying. I really needed to. So to me, it was in my head then. I felt this was one of the things I needed to do because I realized that the power of sin is secrecy. So if I'm able to break this thing, if I'm able to come out and actually say it. But guess what? Even while I was saying it, I was still struggling with it. But the liberty that came with that expression was amazing. That was when other people now started having the courage
to speak up.
In fact, that time it was pornography. It was not even masturbation. Then a friend of mine who was equally as fiery as anything came out and started talking about a struggle with masturbation. And then I realized, oh my God. So you mean there are people that I respect so much too that are going through all this struggle. So now, if you think about it, how did I still move from only struggling with pornography and then still moving into masturbation? Bro, the struggle did not end. Though.
It didn't end.
It was not exactly easy.
I'm telling you, listen, you see this thing with pornography and masturbation, and we're emphasizing this because I believe strongly that there's so many people struggling with this watching us. When you said the struggle almost never ends, look, I was there. Many times I will wake up hating myself and hating everything about... basically hating myself because now in my understanding, I have done everything I needed to do.
Exactly.
In fact, there were times when I assumed the position of a counselor, when people would come to me and say, bro, I'm struggling with this. And I'll begin to reel out to them the things that they needed to do that I was doing that were not working.
But you had to say something.
But I had to say something.
Yeah.
You know, something like when you're in the room and the desire comes, get up and begin to walk.
Yeah.
I tried those things, except that I wouldn't continue. I won't keep walking.
Won't you come back to the room?
I would need to sleep. And then sometime in the middle of the night, the urge comes back again. And sometimes I couldn't do anything but just give in.
Yeah.
I'm really, really emphasizing the point where you said this struggle almost never goes away, because someone out there is saying, look, I've done everything I need to do. I've read the books. I've watched the clips. I have prayed. Guy, I prayed. I'm telling you the truth. I prayed many times with tears, begging God and saying, take this thing away from me. Right? Before we got to how God helped me, right, I want to hear your story. Now, that thing you did was very courageous, standing in the presence of people and speaking about it. I couldn't dare do it. But I did at some point when I realized, look, you will die if you don't do it. This thing will literally kill you, right? So I had to speak up to someone. Now, God has helped us. God has helped me. I can say that for sure. Someone is saying, I need God to help me. What would you counsel?
Yeah, that's the beginning of the journey, the recognition that you actually need, help. Mm-hmm. And another thing is that as much as it is good for us to have people that we should talk to and open up on what our struggles are, we still need to be careful who we share some of these things with. I'm sorry to just dive in a little bit, because there was a particular time where I had an ugly experience that I didn't have the courage to share with everybody, and I shared it with a friend. And this guy went to the church where I was standing in the congregation and recounted the same experience.
Are you kidding?
And said it was prophecy. Now that broke my heart. I don't think till today I can ever look at that guy the same, right? Yeah, but I'm forgiving and all of that. But it just tells you how far some people can actually go. Whether to bring you down or to prove something, I don't really understand. But the first thing is the recognition of the help. The second thing is you have to realize that it's not like this addiction cannot be broken.
Yeah,
it's not. You don't. If you have it in your head that you